Hey, I'm going to call this meeting to order. All please stand for the pledge of our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you'll remain standing, I'm going to ask Reverend Sheila McCoy to offer our invocation today. The microphone. Thank you, Sheila.
Gracious and Holy Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for our country and its government. We hold up before you men and women who are in position of authority, particularly today, our county school board. We ask you to be with them in their deliberations and help them to be wise in the decisions made for the good of those who have placed their trust and confidence in their leadership.
Please, God.
We believe that skillful and godly wisdom have entered into their hearts. We ask that you put people in their paths to give godly counsel and they do what is right in your sight. Your word declares, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord's. Turn our hearts back to you in all we do. May they cast all their cares upon you, and may your purity and peace invade every heart. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Reverend McCoy. In the absence of our chair and vice chair, I'm going to be at least starting the meeting with the gavel, and the first order of business will be with our 3 board members that are present, is to take a nomination for a chairman pro tem for this meeting only. So this time I'll entertain any nominations for a chairman pro tem. Yes.
Superintendent Surge, I'd like to nominate Kathy Jorgensen.
Okay, we have a nomination, and I guess we would need a second. Is that right? Is there a second?
I'd like to nominate Sandy Gilliard.
I decline the good of the board at this time.
Okay. So Ms. Gilliard was declined. Do we have a second for Ms. Jorgensen?
Can I second my own?
I believe you can.
I'll second it then, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Ms. Jorgensen being chairman pro tem, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign?
Nay.
3 to 1. Jane said aye.
Okay. She can't vote yet
Oh, we
until
have to make a motion to vote her in.
Sorry.
That's
so we
okay.
had a 2-1, is that correct? 2-1
Yes.
in favor?
2 to 1 in favor.
Okay. Is that correct, Mr. Attorney? Okay. So we hand the gavel over?
And I guess our first order of business then I will entertain a motion to allow Miss Jane Crawford to participate in the meeting telephonically.
I make a motion that Ms. Crawford be allowed to participate telephonically like we have other board members in past practice.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any conversation or discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries 3-0. And Jane, you're now part of the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, I could find my,
Here's the big packet.
okay, Laura Bellini. Hello, Laura. She's first up, she's from the University of North Florida Ed Leadership Cohort.
Just run right up to the podium. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. And I've got a PowerPoint. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Here's one. Pass those. Yes, it is. Thank you. Keep moving and just hit like.
I guess they'll have to save those.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon.
Will one of you please save me one of those?
Yes.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to present to the Putnam County Board and school community. I really...
That mic a little closer, I
sure.
think.
Okay, how about that? Is that better?
Can y'all hear okay?
Ms. Crawford's watching live, but
Okay.
she's in.
I'll kind
in
of lean over
broadcast
this way. Is
view.
that better? Okay, all right. Well, then I'll just start again. Thank you for the
can't hear.
opportunity to be here with the Putnam County School District and school community. It's really a pleasure to be back. Palaca and Putnam County is kind of familiar grounds for me, and I see lots of familiar faces, so I always feel very welcome when I'm in Putnam County.
Excuse me,
Here,
Doctor.
Jane.
Can you hear her?
We have a
Louder?
board member, if you can talk right
Sure.
into the mic.
Okay. How about,
Thank you
all right,
very
there we go. All right. So I'm not real good at, I'm not done karaoke, so this is new for me. Okay. There you go. How's that? All right. Okay, so as many of you might know, I began my Florida career actually here in Putnam County, and I was an elementary principal at Middleton Burney for about a half a year, and then I came to the district office, and I was in charge of the career academies. So Putnam County holds a special place in my heart, and especially those of you who are in the service of education and promoting the youth of Putnam County. I've worn many hats in my career. Just to give you a tiny bit of background on myself, I came from Indiana, and I moved here in 2010, and I was a teacher, an assistant principal, a principal, assistant superintendent, and a superintendent in Indiana before I came to Putnam County. And then after that, I was at the local college, and then currently I'm at University of North Florida, where I do hope to stay. I'm really enjoying it there and teaching the graduate classes. So that's what brings me here today, is to talk to you about an opportunity that we started talking with the district office about, I'd say last spring, when I met with Dr. Surency and then Assistant Superintendent France, and we've kept the meetings going. So what we would like to do is offer the opportunity to have a master's degree in ed leadership for current teachers of Putnam County, where they would not have to drive, well, very infrequently, to the campus of UNF, which we know is kind of a challenge. So that's our goal. And I've created a brief PowerPoint to give you a little background about our program, and then I have brochures and flyers that delineate the courses as we plan them. It's about an 18-month program, and we hope to start this fall. Okay. First, a little background. Who trains Florida's educational leaders? Currently, Florida has several state-approved programs, 28 in fact, and those are primarily orchestrated through the university system. The vast majority of those are the master's programs. And what are the best practices associated with developing our school leaders? Much like the Putnam County School District, where you have accreditation and processes and practices, of course the university does as well, particularly our program. So we follow the CAPE standards, and I've listed the 5 here, and I won't read all of this to you, but to give you some idea, the standard one talks about our intention to provide a program that is rigorous and relevant and prepares school leaders for the work that they will do in the schools. And so we align a lot of our projects and assignments and our curriculum with a strong emphasis on the 10 leadership practices for principals, which does help our students in turn do fairly well on the FELE exams, which they're required to take. We also work towards effective clinical and partnership practices, which the cohort model is one of those. We had a successful Clay County cohort, we've had Duval County, and this, I don't think this would be our first Putnam County one, as I spoke to some from here. Okay, not the first one. Okay, not the first one. First one for me, so okay. But I guess there has been a history of this in the past, and in speaking with others when I visited before, they really appreciated that opportunity. So students of Putnam County, graduate students, can obtain that advanced degree. In addition, though, another clinical kind of process that we do that's partnering is we have a course called EDA 6945, and all students are required to take that course in our program. And what that does, it's much like student teaching. It puts the graduate student working side by side with a principal. They do that at 2 different schools. They spend 40 hours with one principal and 80 with another. And they have to fit this in their regular job. So many of them, I'm currently teaching that course this summer, and some of them are doing it over the summertime, but they also do it during the year. That is such an eye-opening experience. I love to hear my students' revelations of, I didn't know the principals were so busy. I didn't know she had to do this and that. So I really enjoy that relevant kind of expertise that can really only come from the field. And so that's a course that I teach, and I think it's an incredibly powerful course. Okay, our programs are also, we are tasked with recruiting high quality candidates. So you don't just sign up, there's certainly an entrance kind of procedure so that we have quality candidates in the program, and we pay astute attention to that. The program impact, as I shared, they must pass the FELE. So once they complete the coursework, they're not just automatically certified. They do have to pass those FELE tests. I just looked at our results the other day, and we were doing really well with that. There are 4 different exams that they take, well, 3, but then components of that. And they're pretty rigorous. And our students, they fear those a bit, but we really try to prepare them so that they feel ready. And increasingly, we are seeing our rate, we're above the state level, the university average in success with that, and we keep seeing that rise. And what I think the key to that is, I think it's just a concerted effort by the professors as a team to look at in the field of what the schools are doing so that they feel prepared to talk about that and write about that and understand especially data charts. Okay, so also just like the school district, we have accreditation, we have internal reviews. So our program is quite under scrutiny. They're always looking at our data as well. How do our graduates do on the FELE, for example? So we do a lot of internal review. So what is the program? And I've left extra brochures and flyers. It's not too late to sign up. So if anybody's in the audience thinking, oh, I need her number, well, it'll be available. We can certainly take applicants through August 1st with the hopes of beginning the cohort then this fall. And in the brochure, you'll find a planned course of sequence of courses. The students will take some courses online. They will take some in a hybrid model. The hybrid model for the school term, we will try to hold those here at Putnam County, probably on Saturdays. We're still fine-tuning that schedule. So it's really very doable if you know someone who says, oh, I've got small children, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. We're trying to remove those roadblocks so that the degree is accessible. So if you come on a Saturday, for example, it might be 2 Saturdays a month, and you're with that cohort. So yes, it is a time commitment. You're probably going to start about 8 or so and be done at 3, but you will have covered 2 courses in that time period. So we really want to pay attention to getting our students through the degree program in a timely manner so then they can be those aspiring leaders for Putnam County. Okay, so why the cohort model? You know, and I've taught both kinds of sections in lots of classes. I've been with UNF 2 years now, and I'm very pleased to say I'm going to be permanent in the fall. So I was considered a visiting professor, and now I went through the whole interview process, and I can take away that adjective. So I'm very excited. So I'm happy about that. But what I have seen is that I've had classes that are cohorts, and I've had classes that aren't cohorts. You know, I think there's benefits to both. The cohort model certainly brings people together. In fact, the meetings I've had already here in Putnam County, the people didn't know each other. Somebody taught at Interlochen, somebody taught at Crescent City, and here you are in the same district, but they did not know one another. So I think it brings the people together. It also brings you together on shared documents. So like when we cover the budget class, we'll probably be asking the district office, can you share with us some documents that we can then have our principals work through, our aspiring principals work through. So we'll pay concerted attention to Putnam processes, Putnam evaluation system. And I think in turn that really prepares your leaders as they graduate and matriculate into your system as administrators. At the same time, we won't neglect more global learning with that, and so if there are other evaluation systems, we will provide like information about those as well, and with budgets and things. The professors, there's the cost. Yes, we always have to talk about the cost. I didn't mean to gloss over that slide real quickly. Okay. There certainly is a cost. When you look at the cost of it, I'd probably estimate it about $20,000 for a person to obtain this master's program. And we realize that is not an insignificant amount of funds, especially for many teachers who are perhaps just paid off their student loans in the other area. So, but there are financial aid and scholarships available, and we provide that information for students. Many of my students have gotten those scholarships, and it's been pretty exciting. Sometimes it's just a matter, I don't want to say of applying, but people won't apply, and it's not a really long process. And I had a student tell me last term, she said, you know, you sent out that email blast, and I filled it out. It was like 2 pages, and I got $2,000 to use towards the next term. So there really are avenues to help students, you know, get through that cost process. And so I do think our professors bring a practical perspective. Many of the folks are, I want to say, seasoned old, like me, not all on crutches, they're not all falling apart, but we do make sure that people who are, worked with adjuncts or even with me with full-time and others in my field or in the department, they have been in schools for quite some time. So they have an understanding of what's going on in the schools, and they bring that to their classes. The ratio of students is really very small. You get to know your professors really well, and we get to know the students really well. I really enjoy that. And then, as I shared earlier, we will use Putnam documents along with the others to kind of augment that. So, okay, so that is, there's my contact information. And then I've got Dr. Swanson's as well. Dr. Swanson is the program director. And I would take any questions anyone might have, or just encourage people to still consider signing up. We're very excited about it. So,
Thank you all.
okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dr. Bellini, very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Tanya Whitehurst, who's going to talk to us about the New Teacher Institute.
Good afternoon. We are excited to let you know we are, for the third year, we are doing our New Teacher Institute. It is a 3-day institute for the new teachers that are to our district. It's all of our beginning teachers that are brand new to the profession, as well as some seasoned teachers that are coming in, but they're new to our district. So what this opportunity does is it really allows our new teachers to become familiar with our district before pre-planning, so that they're not taken out of their schools, and we can go over a lot of just the district initiatives, and they get to know the content specialists that they'll be working with. We take the time to really sit with them side by side, and our biggest goal is we want them to feel valued and appreciated. If we can pour into them, we're more likely going to keep them, and that's what we really want. It is a Putnam County School District initiative, but it cannot be done without the support of our community, and we have so many partners that have partnered up with us this year. This is probably our biggest sponsorship. Would y'all agree? We have so many sponsors, and I don't want to name them all because I will leave somebody out, but we have just individuals that has come forward and said, I want to donate this, or I want to donate some money, or here's a door prize. We have 3 of our local churches who are going to be providing meals. So for 3 days, breakfast, lunch, and snacks are all provided. Both of our teacher sororities here in Putnam County is helping out and contributing some door prizes and some snacks, and just a lot of community involvement in this, and we're very excited. One of the things that we're doing new this year, and we finally secured the last sponsorship today for this, is we're going to have t-shirts for all of our new teachers, and just something new for them. And you have to be at the Institute in order to get one of the t-shirts. So I'm really going to turn it over. I just get to talk about it, but they're actually the ones that's doing the planning. Kristen Carroll, who is our administrator in HR, she is our administrator for certification and the new teacher program. And then Pamela Brown and Kim Stanley, they have been instrumental the last 3 years in helping plan this, and they're actually some of our presenters for some of the breakout sessions as well.
Thank you. So I'm going to share this save the date flyer with you guys that we give our new teachers. And I'm going to share also a story when I do go to colleges and recruit and try to get teachers to come to our district to teach, and I let them know all the things that we do offer here. When I get to the part about how much support we provide, their faces light up. And they will say to me, and I've had them say it to me many times, okay, thank goodness, because I'm so afraid that I'll get somewhere and be a new teacher and I won't know what I'm doing. And that's really something that draws them in to our district, which we are really, really good at doing that. We are. This Summer Institute kicks that off. These ladies and some of our novice teacher mentors have been working very hard to plan it, and you can see some of the things that it covers. But it's greatly appreciated to have our community and our district support with this, because again, this is something huge, and it kicks off that mentoring and that support for our new teachers, not only taking some barriers away from them, like, well, how do I use Skyward or how do I do grades, but giving them curriculum and student engagement, but also building that community for them already. Thank you.
Thank you.
So one thing I do want to say is last year we had 46 in the end. 46 on day 3, because some of them are still trying to get all of their onboarding for just getting their new hire stuff done on those last couple of days. So on the last day we had 46, and then we follow that up with a fall support session and a spring support session. And at our fall support session we had about 30 of those 46, and the spring we had about 30. So it is something that is showing that they are wanting that support, and I don't have an actual percentage, but I do know that most of those are going to be with us again this year. And that's what it's really about, is not just recruiting them and giving them that support, but the retention, so that we don't have to start all over again every single year. So we're looking to have about 45 again this year, and just really looking forward to it. And we met with 13 new teachers today, going through a new employee orientation session, and as soon as they heard about that and we kind of told them about the new teacher support session, they were very excited that they were going to be able to be at their school during pre-planning and get all of this information before they have to report on that first day.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
The mentor teachers for each of our new teachers, do they go through training?
Okay, so if you'll remember, we approved this year for novice teacher mentors that are district level based, and all of those novice teacher mentors will be at this training actually participating in it, and they will already know which schools that they are assigned to, so they will begin working with the teachers that they are assigned to during this new teacher institute.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Any other questions?
That's
All right.
all for me.
Thank you.
Pam Brown, a lot of help.
She is an amazing amount of help.
I had to say that.
There you go.
She played a bad trick on me when she was a student one time, and I never forgot it.
Thank you, ladies. Next up on the agenda is information of opportunity that will aid in obtaining future farm-specific grants for Putnam students. And we have Todd Crowley here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
How's everybody?
Good.
If you
Yourself?
want I'm very well, thank you. Take one down and pass it around. I'll leave one for myself. I believe I have 6, and Mr. Simons is here as well. This is just kind of a follow-up to the meeting we had back in April regarding the Farm to School initiative that's Dr. Coleman and Nikki Hawthorne applied for the grant and awarded last year, and I was hired subsequently in September. I feel like I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and I've almost got my PhD in farm psychology. It's been an interesting travel, and I'm just barely scratching the surface. In the process of the planning grant, you get audited. They go around and they see what you've done, and they see where you're going, and they want to make sure that if you apply for the implementation grant, someone from the USDA comes down and sees where you are currently, and you kind of give them your vision for the future. As a result, Samantha, I forget her last name, she came down, and she was our lead at the time, and we did a tour of April and Stephen Singleton's farm and their sons, who are going to help us out with the 2 acres on their property and allow us to be of service to the county for the children as a mentor as well. And as a result of doing the tour, we were over to E.H. Miller, and she commented that if we had turn some of our property at E.H. Miller into farmland, we would be able to procure more grants that way. I went to the USDA office, and AJ at the office was gracious enough to take care of that for us. And we converted 2.57 acres just for farmland to increase the amount of grants that we can receive as a farm-to-school project. It allow us to do a bunch of things. I was also awarded a $30,000 grant just recently that I wrote for the Florida Department of Agricultural System as well. So that'll give us a huge jump start as well. So we're very excited about where we are, and this is kind of an informational to let you know that the 2.57 acres designated at the E.H. Miller site school remains obviously on school property, but it now becomes a farm at E.H. Miller, and it allows us to obviously procure more grants that way as well. Hoop houses and orange groves, and kind of get back to a East Palatka educational system that allows us to educate our children, to let them know that East Palatka, or Palatka, Putnam County overall, was a huge citrus growing area at one time back in the late 1800s. So that's kind of where we're at with that, and didn't know if you had any questions.
The 2.57 acres, that's former cow pasture, used to belong to Charles Hayes, and he donated that property originally for the old Briarwood School, and I was a coach there. My only concern with the access to kids, there's not going to be any fertilizer storage or diesel fuel or anything stored on the campus.
No, sir. No, none whatsoever. The only fertilizer we would be using would be organic. It'll be an organic farm.
Okay.
And cows haven't been there before.
Well,
Should be very fertile.
it's good ground. It's on
Jane,
the
do you have
wetter
any
side of it.
questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
It's very exciting.
It is very
It
exciting.
really is.
Good deal.
Thank you, Rodney.
This is the place
Mr.
to
Simons
do it.
have any comments at all about the?
No, sir, I'm
Yeah.
good.
You're welcome to have it, right?
We've got plenty of room out there for it,
Very good. Thank you.
and we'll expand later.
Okay, I have not received any public comment cards, so I assume there's no one from the public that wants to address the board. There being none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And I'll ask my fellow board members if there's anything you want to remove from the consent agenda. Sandra?
G1,
Okay.
Did she say D or G?
G like
G, as in
like girl.
Gilliard.
Gilliard.
Okay.
Any others?
Madam Chair, if I could ask a board member to pull E2.
Okay.
I'll pull E2.
Sandra, do you have any others?
No, that was the only one.
Okay, I'm pulling D2, D6,
Hold on. D2, D6,
E1,
Did you say D1?
no, E like elephant.
Okay.
And that's it.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept.
Wait a minute.
The consent agenda as proposed without the pulled items.
I didn't have anything to pull.
Okay, just for the record, I'd like to say D2, D6, E1, E2, and G1 have been pulled. Is there a second on Mr. Buckles' motion?
Second.
Motion second on the floor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries 3-0. Okay, the first item is D2, and that's the bill from Mr. Holmes, from when the superintendent felt the need to hire outside counsel. I thought I saw him here, if he wants to address the board, but I really couldn't believe it when I saw this invoice. I didn't see why the superintendent needed to hire an attorney, and when Mr. Holmes came, basically all he did was spank Nikki Cummings. I mean, he really did. He just went on and on about how whatever the paper said she said, the paper said she said it, which, sorry, but that doesn't necessarily mean she said it. But whatever the paper said she said, Dr. Sorensen hired Mr. Holmes, and he came, and the taxpayers are supposed to pay $1,500. We have a bill here to pay Mr. Holmes with taxpayer money, and I'm gonna vote no. I think this is absurd. There was no need for the superintendent to hire another attorney when he's been using this attorney all along. So, I'm very much opposed to this. I don't think the taxpayers should have to pay that.
All right, real quick, I have no problem with the superintendent acquiring outside counsel when it's necessary and the board attorney cannot represent him in certain issues, particularly if he's accused of wrongdoing of some type. And this is past practice. It's been done for many years. I know as superintendent, Ed Hedstrom was my attorney for quite a few years, so it wasn't uncommon, so I don't have a problem with it.
And I was under the impression that he was within his rights to do it because it would put Charlie in a position of having to do that, yet it's serving
Having to
the
do
board.
what? What did Mr. Holmes do? Having to do what?
Clarified, I guess, what the superintendent saw as, I won't necessarily say,
He was
an accusation of having done something wrong.
Right.
Yes.
He was accused of illegal.
Unethical practices or something to that nature.
That's what the paper said.
If a
right?
board member reports a superintendent for a crime or an act or something that was unethical, it's certainly within his right to obtain, his or her right to obtain counsel. And it
I'd
is-
like to say something when there's.
and I'm through with that. I'm good with it.
Okay, Jane.
Regardless of what he did or what he was hired to do, he did represent our superintendent, and he needs to be paid.
Well, I agree he needs to be paid, but I don't think the taxpayers should have to do it. I just don't. The right way to hit, we're a master board. We are a master board. We had, 16 hours of training, how to work together. And the right way to handle that would have been through the attorney and talking to Nikki about it. I mean, it's just been such a battle, such a continuous battle between the superintendent and the majority of the board that it's become a nightmare. I'm voting no, but I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we we approve item D2 as proposed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. So it carries 3-1. Next are the school board meeting minutes from our last meeting. And if you go to the very end, it says executive session, and under executive session, it says school security was discussed. And I think that needs to be taken off of there because we did not discuss any school security. The sheriff, upon advice of his attorney, would not discuss the details of the Guardian program with us. So I would like that taken out of the minutes, please, because we did not discuss school safety.
Well, I think we did discuss elements of it, but it didn't, there was not a lot of information that could be released, so to say it
What do you
didn't.
mean could be released?
Just, can I?
I'm
just-
sorry. I'm sorry.
If you'll let me,
I am
I'll
sorry.
give you the floor. Certainly, it's discussed on what could legally be discussed, and then people on advice of counsel were prohibited from giving additional information. So I think the statement is accurate, and it doesn't matter to me whether it's there or not, but I'm going to vote to keep it like it is because we did have to go into executive session. So
Do you remember anything being discussed other than the sheriff saying his lawyer said not to say anything?
Well, he could not disclose the names of those
It
people
wasn't the
that were
names. He
part.
couldn't talk about anything.
Oh, I don't-
all right.
We have 7 uncovered schools. We have, I don't know, and now I hear 25. We have no idea how many guardians, correct?
Right.
Right, okay. The law says that the sheriff, in consultation with the school board, and I have the law here, is supposed to decide by July 1st how many guardians, if any, we're going to have, and we're supposed to send that number up to the DOE. I assume that the superintendent did send the number up to the DOE by July 1st as required, but the law said, the Florida statute said the school board and the sheriff were to determine how many. The school board, except for Mr. Buckles perhaps, has no idea how many. I have no idea. The newspaper said 31, but then we have charter schools, so it might be 28. And now another news outlet is telling me they were told 25.
I have no idea.
So then, your concern is that it said that it was discussed, and you would like the word discussed scratched from
We didn't discuss anything. We were told that we couldn't
We
discuss.
need to hear from Ms. Crawford, and then we need to make a motion, I guess.
Jane, David said he wants to hear from you.
I'd like to hear from Charlie. I mean, we did go into executive session to discuss, even though we didn't discuss, we went into executive session, so I'd like for Charlie to weigh in on that.
The purpose of the meeting was school security, and to the degree that names would or would not be shared as part of school security would, in my mind, be a discussion not to share those names. So by the definition of the word discuss, I would say that there was a discussion.
Then can we add, school security was discussed, but upon advice of his attorney, the sheriff wouldn't release any information to the board? Because that's what I remember.
Well, where do you stop? Do you also go and add that the superintendent volunteered to let the board meet these people, and the majority of the board turned it down?
You're talking about March, in March?
The guardians.
Yeah, no.
So
We haven't
really,
voted on it yet.
really, I'd like to make a call for a motion under Robert's Rules of Order that we go ahead and approve number D6.
Second.
There's a motion and second on the floor. Anybody else want to say anything? I just want to be on the record that this is very, very, very deceptive, the way it's worded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. It's 3-1. E1 is the contract with the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. Again, I'm going to vote no. I don't think it's a good idea to give every single dime of our safe school money to the sheriff. I also would like to pass something out that this is option 6 from the Security Task Force, and supposedly is what was approved on June 5th. My first thing I want to point out is it says guardian volunteers at 7 schools.
What are you handing out?
I handed out option 6 as presented to the task force and as recommended to the board and as voted on by the board on June 5th.
Okay.
The first thing I'm pointing out is that it says guardian volunteers at 7 schools. The second thing I'm pointing out is the figures. On the top, we currently have 8 SROs and 1 supervisor for $444,000. Then we're going to get 3 more SROs and 1 more supervisor for $450,000. Can anybody explain that or how it makes sense? There's Black High, Interlochen High, 8 schools and 1 supervisor, $444,000, and then 3 SROs and 1 supervisor, $450,000.
Colonel.
I just don't understand.
Yeah, that's.
Sheriff Wells is here. Would you like for him to address that? And
Sure,
we
if he
have
can.
also,
I just soon make a motion, we go ahead and approve the recommendation and see what it is. I mean,
Do you
under
have a
Robert-
motion on the floor?
Under
No.
Robert's Rules of Order, I mean,
You can make a motion.
I made a motion
What is it?
that we go ahead and approve the item you pulled. It was contract E1. Go ahead and approve it.
You're making a motion
I'm
to
making a
approve?
motion to approve after
E1.
we've had discussion.
Fine.
There's no one there that can clarify that?
Yes, there is, but David wants to make a motion right away, so he's
Well,
making
you get a motion
Is
in
there
a second, and then there's a reasonable amount of time for discussion under Robert's Rules of Order, and then you call for the question.
And whose reasonable time?
A reasonable
Yours?
time would be just somebody wouldn't be able to dominate and just go on and on and on about something incessantly, okay?
Yeah, I've
All right,
seen
that's
that.
why they call it
I've
Robert's
seen
Rule
that.
of Order.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's a motion and a second on the floor. Now it's open for discussion. And I'll go back to my question. Why is it $444,000 for 9 people and $450,000 for 4 more?
Do you have?
I'll be happy to see if I can address that to some extent. So I think that the first false thing would be to do is to rely on the cost based on person, because the school district does not pay for every person. The sheriff's office is sharing these expenses and paying for it. So the proposal was for this upcoming school year to add 3 additional youth resource deputies and 1 additional youth resource supervisor, in addition to what we're already carrying, for a total of $750,742.
Right.
So it seems that I could see the where you may be coming from with this, because you have to remember that these are additional positions. So with additional positions come pretty extensive startup cost. Now current year, the school district has paid about 30% of the cost of the youth resource deputies, but to help you with the startup cost, to meet the amount of money that you had, $750, $742, we've adjusted that to where we've agreed to pay about we're agreed to pay about 42% in the upcoming year. So I guess the simple answer to your question is, with a new deputy comes a new gun, a new bulletproof vest, a new car, a new radio, a new laptop computer, and all the things that go there.
That comes out of the district money.
Well, not necessarily. Some of it does, yes, for the call-up. But the district has also paid equipment costs on the current deputies. And what happens is we've developed a scale or a rotating replacement for those items. So next year, the same amount of deputies that you got this year will be less expensive. And we talked about that your options would then be to pay less money because the startup costs are gone, or to continue to add a deputy here and there as the costs allow it, because the startup costs will reduce, therefore the cost of the deputy reduced. Again, we've agreed to pay a good portion of the startup costs this year to help get that many deputies, because we knew what the district had available, and that was a finite number with no option to get it any higher. So we've
Take every penny.
right. So well, you can look at it how you'd like. However, what you're getting is a more equitable balance, in that we are paying a higher percentage out of our budget, which we did not get from the general fund of Putnam County. So that's coming out of our deputy sheriff's pockets, out of our citizens' neighborhoods, out of our jail, where we pulled it to help you so that we can protect our children. So you can look at it, we're trying to get every penny if you'd like, but what we're doing is doing everything we can to protect our students.
I'm not saying you're trying to get every penny, but you're taking
You said
every
it.
penny. No, you're
Okay.
taking every penny of our safe schools money. I didn't say you're trying to get it, but you are, when we approve this, because it's obvious it's going to be approved, but you're taking every dime of what we've been given for safe schools.
But don't lose the fact that we are giving additional dimes out of our general budget to help you go as far
I
as
do
you absolutely
understand-
can.
I understand that completely, but I don't know when we got started buying sheriff's cars, because I've talked to a lot of school districts around the state, and nobody else buys the cars for their SROs.
And again, it's not we're not asking you for $29,127 per deputy. That's what a patrol car costs. We're asking for, and with all of your youth resource deputies, you pay for a portion of their equipment, and that's on a sliding scale, and every year as that equipment ages, then we figure that back into next year's contract, and we share those equipment costs with you. And we also share their salaries with you, because we know that they're not in a school are using that equipment for school purposes every single day of the school year, and that's the biggest reason that it's equitable for both of us to make sure that we share those costs, as we're both using those deputies. And it works out to they work for the school board about 70% of the year, and then for the county doing other youth-related things such as summer camps, like we're fixing a coast and interlocking next week, and helping to train the training year that Travis spoke about earlier. All those things that our youth resource deputies will be doing, we consider that the county's share, and that's why we have managed to dig about a little north of 500,000 out of the county share to help you with that 750. So in fact, you're getting about $1.4 million worth of school resource deputies for the 750 because of the equitable sharing that we
So
have.
before I call for the question, I would like to also mention, while you're up here with the superintendent, that we have in the past purchased gunpowder smelling dogs for the sheriff's office and drug smelling dogs. to be used as canine in our schools, and I think that's something we might look at working on in the future, maybe some option like that, but I'd like to-
You're right, and we do continue to maintain a full-time canine inside our schools. That is not a shared cost. That is a completely sheriff's office funded cost, but we continue to maintain that dog. That dog is handled by Sergeant Randy Hayes, one of the supervisors, and that will continue through this school year.
we have purchased in the past, so anyway, I'd like to call for the question.
That means we can't talk about it anymore?
Well, I mean, you've had five, 7, 8
5 minutes, oh my gosh. Sorry, I went over 3.
Well, I'm not the chairman, but I mean, that's how Robert.
David
rules
has
of
called for the question, so I guess we vote now. Sandra, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm okay. After he reminded me that he had talked about the startup costs.
Yeah, I
for
didn't
the
think
new
we were
deputy.
getting
I
startup
had
costs
forgotten
anymore.
about
That's what
that.
I was told.
So
But
that-
Jane, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, and I had remembered the startup costs.
Well, where does that come from? Why do we do that? It's up to the board. I mean, I just don't understand. I really, well, 88 more days. Okay, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Another 3-1. Okay, next is, I think it's you, Sandra.
Yes, G1.
No, we missed E.
Oh.
The superintendent asked that we pull,
Oh,
or the attorney did, E2.
yeah, E2.
I couldn't hear that. Pull which one?
E2.
E2, the attorney asked to pull E2. I'm gonna sit here.
This is regarding the lease between the school board and St. John's River State College regarding the Mosley campus. And there's a question about when the lease term should begin because of the teach-out that FCTC must conclude prior to St. John's River State College occupying 100% of that space. So what I would recommend that if there is a motion and a second, that the motion include an amendment to paragraph 2, that the dates be left open for the start date and the end date, and the rest of the lease agreement to be approved. And once the superintendent is able to confirm when the teach-out will be completed, then the date certain will come back before the board for you to approve the start and end date that would be a 10-year period.
I make a motion that we do what the board attorney has recommended and have the superintendent stay in touch and complete everything that he said in that fashion.
Second.
Any comments from any board members?
No, but we don't have any idea of when start date might be.
They have to, Madam Chair, I was told that they have to submit a plan to the state, and as far as their teach out, because they have a cohort of students that they have to finish up with. So as soon as that plan is submitted and we're made aware of that date, then I'll bring that back to the board.
Okay,
just
but
didn't wanna-
those aren't the welding students, correct? Because they're at the barge port.
Right, I think the welding students are staying at the barge port.
I'm not sure.
Melissa's here, she can speak to it.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you for your cooperation in developing this lease form. We're very excited about going in there, and we've already begun our plans for the programming to occupy that space. But I wanted to let you know that our Director of Facilities has visited the campus just to become aware of some of the work that we'll need to do to make the space occupiable for students. And one of the things that was detected is that the fire panel is not operational. So if FCTC is still going to occupy that space, I just, want to bring that to your attention. It's a safety issue.
John Chastain is here, so John, did you already know that?
Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay.
It got hit by lightning.
Could someone reiterate what Melissa said?
There's a fire panel that needs to be fixed, and Mr. Chastain just said that it got hit by lightning, and he will be fixing it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, because that was one of the things that we were planning to take care of, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa.
Appreciate what you guys are doing too. Thank you.
Any other questions, Jane?
No, that's all.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay, we have a motion on this and a second on the floor. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Now, Sandra.
Okay, that was E1, and it.
G1.
I mean, G1, I'm sorry, G1. And the only reason I pulled it is because I wanted to make sure that the volleyball team or any school sports that don't require big vehicles are aware that our district vans are available. I read where they are renting from Enterprise, and I was thinking that we had those vans there, I'm sure. I know they would have to be available for them to use it, but I just want to make sure that they were aware.
Can I add,
We do have-
Ms. Bell, can you,
Or
have
maybe I
any
don't know
information
that
about
they're
this at all?
available.
Okay. And, Area Director, Dr. Coleman, do you have any, I know, Ms. France could not be here and she asked people to,
How many people fit in the regular?
who has information they could,
Just how many people fit in the regular van she's talking about?
7 students and plus the driver.
Yeah, because the volleyball team's going to be bigger than that, I'm sure. They're
She's taken 10, and I was
And all
thinking,
their-
well, even at that.
all their gear and stuff is going to be.
Yeah, maybe that's why. But I just want to make sure they knew that these things were there if the number would fit.
They would know.
yeah, and they do know because they use them all the time. Is that right, Ms.
Yeah.
Bell? As far as, right,
Okay, all right.
okay.
Just wanted to,
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion
I'll
to
make a
approve
motion-
item G1.
I'll make a motion to approve item G1.
second.
Motion and second on the floor. Jane, do you want to add anything?
No, I don't.
Okay, going to call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries 4-0. Okay, we're out of regular session now, and we're going into emergency session. The first item, excuse me, on the agenda is after-the-fact approval of contract between Putnam County School District and St. John's River State College for transportation of students for a summer program.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to move that we approve that, item E of additional items.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any board member have any comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Second emergency item is a resolution accepting a loan from Capital City Bank and authorizing execution of a promissory note for $2,100,000 and other necessary documents for purchase of new school buses.
We skipped over additional items. Were we supposed to do that?
No, that's
Okay.
stuff they
Uh,
changed.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the item 2 resolution to accept the loan.
I second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any board members have any comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. The third item on our emergency agenda is 2018-2019 personnel allocations, change number 3.40. You will have that in your packet.
You want to make a motion, or I keep making them, I feel bad
And I
about it.
keep second, you go ahead.
Well, okay, Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve item 3 under emergency items for the personnel allocations change number 3.40 because the justification is time sensitive.
Second.
Any board members have any comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And our last emergency item is additional workday for bus drivers to attend annual training. Justification, explanation, time sensitive.
Madam Chair, I'm making a motion that we approve that item 4 emergency item.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any board members have any comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries 4-0. I just didn't say aye in that time. Okay, we're out of emergency session, back into regular session, and we have new business. We need to appoint a board member to serve as the board's representative on the Lift Putnam Board. And I know that I've done my year, so. can't
Madam
appoint
Chair,
me.
I'd like to make a motion that we ask Ms. Gilliard to be our representative on the Lift Putnam Board.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I don't want to
I
laugh.
second it.
I love to.
Motion by David, seconded by Jane. Any discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carries 4-0.
Could not have a better person.
I'm a team player.
You are. You are, but you're getting everything now. You notice that? Everything. Okay, discussion, input, and action. Demand-side energy solutions proposal. Somebody, I thought was gonna.
You're going.
John or Thomas, who's prepared to talk about that?
I see where they're offering,
Where are we?
here.
We're at the very end.
They're
The
offering
agenda.
We're here, number
free
2
power.
here.
Input.
Yes.
No, turn it over. That's it.
I think I included in, or at least I sent an email out that had some questions by our maintenance department as well as some concerns based on the proposal of from demand side. And our maintenance department has wanted to go in a different direction with this. But the good people from demand side wanted the board to have their opportunity to hear from them and basically bring it directly to you. So is anyone here from that particular company, demand side?
Okay, well, we'd love to hear from Mr. Chastain.
Yes, because, I mean, that's why you're the man.
I'd love to hear from Mr. Chastain.
Product that they're offering,
Speak up, Ms. Crawford wants to hear you.
the product that they're offering is not patented as far as we know. I mean, they're offering it free, but I don't think we should pay tax, let them, we're not spending any money, but it could wind up costing us money in the long run, taxpayers' money for something that's not proven or patented, and I'm just trying to stay away from it. If they ever get it patented, proven, then we might try it, but
Mr. Superintendent,
this is
that's your
taxpayers'
recommendation?
money.
Yeah, I had the maintenance department kind of vet them and see if that was something we could, that would work for us. And John did a lot of study and checked with his air conditioning guys. And I think they submitted to you some of the concerns they had. So we just wanted you to have the opportunity to weigh in on it.
I make a motion that we decline M2 based on the recommendation from the superintendent and staff.
I second.
Thank you, John.
Do we have to make a motion to decline it, or
You
just?
don't, you can
Right.
choose not to. take
Just
it
not
up.
to vote on
It
it.
would just die for.
All right.
Okay.
I withdraw
Yeah.
my
I
recommendation.
think that if there's no motion and second and vote, then we don't have a
Right,
contract with
You're
them.
correct. You're correct.
Okay. Item 3, discussion, input, and action. Keep the names of guardians separate. I'm very surprised to find this on the agenda in light of Mr. Douglas's memo to us saying that the board can't do this.
Madam Chair, can I address the board about this?
Yes.
Okay. We, the attorney and I looked at the statute, and the statute 7026 does not explicitly say anything about confidentiality. And again, the spirit of the whole Guardian program is to make sure, number one, these people are safe, that they're serving in a capacity where no one knows who they are, because they are there to protect our kids, and it would endanger them if that kind of information was named public or made public. Sure. And again, I'm not trying to withhold anything from the board that the board is entitled to. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to create a confrontation or any strife between us. But what I'm trying to accomplish is I'm trying, within the spirit of cooperation, trying to find a middle ground where we can protect these people who are serving the district, who are really putting their life on the line, if you will, where we can protect them. If there's some information that you feel like you need to know as board members that we can provide that would protect their identity, then I'm all about meeting with you and talking about that. But again, I'm trying to protect you where you're not given names that you might in some way disclose by accident or whatever. I'm just trying to find a way that we, as a superintendent and the board, can come to some middle ground without, even if we didn't vote on this, I'm just trying to find a way that we can find out what your wants and your needs are as board members so that we can move on and, number one, protect the identities of these people who are serving our students.
May I ask, Superintendent?
Go. Yeah.
Should any of the guardians at any time breach that confidentiality? Will they be
I've told
removed?
them if they explicitly make known their identities guardians, that the sheriff and I can remove them as in their
So
role.
if I can name a couple, because I know a couple, if I can name them, will they be removed?
If you don't have
No,
any.
serious.
He's saying,
I know what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying the secret isn't a secret. Sorry. But I'm not interested in the guardian names. I was never interested in their names. I would like to know how many there are, how many we're going to have at each school, how many cafeteria workers, how many janitors, how long have these people worked for us? I don't need their names. I don't know anybody in the district anyway. I wouldn't know who they were if you gave me their names. I'm not interested in their names. But I'd like to know a little bit about these people that were putting guns in their hands with our children. That's number one. Number two, the board has to. Our job, Sandra and Jane and David, is to write policy about the Guardian program. How can we write policy if we've had no information, none whatsoever, given to us? None.
Sandy, go ahead. You go
no,
ahead.
I was just going to ask about the psychological that was to be a part of this program.
It is.
So those guardians have been given the psychological and they have passed that portion. Okay.
And,
all right.
and Joe Wells is
That-
here and he
I
can
just-
address that as well.
Yeah, just
You know,
knowing
I-
that we're honoring what we said.
I don't even know if Joe needs to come up here. Here's the thing. We have already voted on this. The majority of the board voted to pass this. It's done, it's over, it's finished.
And there are 7 schools that need
And
guardians.
I heard the sheriff tell us in a session how many there were. I can't remember if that was a private session.
That was
or if
one
that
with
was a
just
public
you,
session.
David. That was just you. We weren't in on
Thank you,
that
Ms.
one.
Jorgensen, but I'm trying to be a little along the line of what we're supposed to do here. To keep beating this, if you do something and one of these people get killed, I mean, and that's it's not. This is serious business.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yes, and a majority of the board has voted on this.
Illegally, by the way.
Well,
It was a
I
sunshine
know
law
that you're an
violation.
attorney. Yeah, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Do you?
Kathy,
Do you understand that the Guardian program was not on the agenda?
All right, we've covered this. I'm not going to argue something that you don't even understand what you're talking about, Mr. Jorgensen. I'm
Okay, we'll
sorry
see.
that we disagree on this, but
No, that's okay. I don't mind disagreeing
anyway,
with you.
this has certainly been voted on. Now, if the board attorney thinks this is something we need to do, you need to speak up, and as a board attorney, and tell us: do we sit here and do we go back and hash something that's been voted about? And try to pry names or not pry. You've asked.
I don't want any
You
names.
said you didn't want. Now you do want. Then you don't want. Kathy.
88 more days.
I understand. And even if this board were to develop policies to go along with who you're talking about, the actions of this board cannot impact or impede the actions of the next board.
Right,
when
but the
people take
law
over in
says
88 days.
this board has to come up with policy.
And we listened to the policies that were being developed earlier in the workshop. I'm very pleased with the progress that the superintendent staff have made.
I'm sure you are.
But I'm sure that we've been through this years ago, Kathy.
Okay, so what are we doing? Charlie, could you please speak up?
So the superintendent asked me, and at least one board member asked me, my opinion about whether the board may vote to deny information to other board members. Or if, let's say, for example, 3 board members voted to keep the names confidential among the board members, and the other board members did not vote, could the minority board member seek out and obtain information that was otherwise voted by the majority that they could not have? And my opinion is that yes, because this is a bill, 7026 is a bill that is, it is a necessity for the board to approve for the organization of it and the implementation of it. It is a creature of board approval. The Guardian Program is a creature of board approval, that a board member should not be denied information that a board member deems appropriate to help implement policy that will be most likely forthcoming. Just as a board member who has a question about a financial matter or a transportation matter would be able to seek out information that would help inform that board member's research in determining policy or budgetary decisions that would come before the board in those matters. So too should a board member, if they wanted, be able to seek out and obtain information that the board member felt was necessary for implementation of the Guardian Program. And I understand the superintendent's position that that confidentiality is important. The question that was presented to me is, can a board member be prevented from receiving that? And it sounds like that the information that the board wants, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm happy to help facilitate some type of a middle ground if there exists one, is not necessarily the identities.
I've never
Jane
wanted the
Doe,
identities.
that it's more what you described before, schools and that sort of thing.
I would, yeah,
So it may be that if the board is okay with that, just don't vote on this matter, leave it as is. And then if there are instances in the future that come up where a board member feels like they need information and have requested the information but have been denied the information, we can take it up at that point in time.
Well, that's good, because you don't want somebody that's disgruntled or has an axe to grind trying to get that information and leak it out to the press or go before a TV camera and try to say something just because they're angry about something. So I think you need to be careful as a board. We need to be very cautious who gets that information, because they may not be taking the right attitude that particular day when they get the information. So I would like to, I guess we just take a vote and unanimously, not vote, but
Can
we
I
just.
ask a question?
Yes,
Sure.
for whatever.
Is there any reason we can't know the exact number of guardians and how many are in each school?
well, I pointed out that option 6, the task force recommendation, says very clearly that there will be guardians only at the 7 uncovered elementary schools.
And again, we can sit down and talk about all that information you asked for, the numbers, and all the information you asked for. It's just the identities that I had concerns about.
Well, when can we sit down and do that? Because I've been asking for a very, very long time for some of that information, and I have been denied.
Well, it was my understanding you wanted the identities, and if I'm wrong about that, I apologize. But if you want to sit down and talk about some
I
of the
do.
stuff.
Can I get in? Well, I made an appointment. The sheriff said, no, he can't give any information, only on a one-on-one basis. Remember that? So I called the superintendent's office, I asked for an appointment, and then the superintendent said he was gonna have the board vote on whether or not I could get the information. So it's been a total fiasco for me.
I might be able to assist just a
Ridiculous.
little bit. And yes, the information that you're asking for how many, what schools are covered and that type of stuff, while we consider that still to be not a public record because it's part of our school safety plan, we don't mind sharing it with the board, either in executive session or one-on-one. Now, I know one of the things that was staring us in the face, and, don't want to bring up anything that causes feelings, but it was staring us in the face in the last scheduled executive board that we knew a possibility of one of the school board members would be under felony indictment. Therefore, we decided not to disclose at that point. So at this point, I would recommend one-on-ones, and the sheriff and I are happy to answer the questions that you have about numbers, how well the training went, what the psychologicals look like. By the way, every one of them is a low-risk psychological. And not everybody that began the training completed it, but everybody that has completed it has done a phenomenal job. But I'll be happy to get into more specifics if you'd like to either set another executive or meet with us
Well, if
one-on-one.
there are approximately 25 guardians and we only can put them in 7 schools, how is that gonna play out?
But we can.
Again, I'd like to talk about that there.
I prefer
Yeah.
not to answer that.
Yeah, I think we approved the program and we know it's gonna be a work in progress. I don't have a problem if a guardian's in a secondary school or a middle school.
But it's not up to you, David, you're not the superintendent
But
anymore.
it's up to a majority of the board.
Correct.
It is.
Correct.
And I didn't unilaterally vote to make all this happen. It was done by a majority of the board. So once you make a decision, we should move on,
Once who makes a decision?
the majority of the board.
Well, let's move on then. We're off whether or not the board members can have the name. I guess that means the board members can't have the names, right? Or being that the person who might be indicted isn't here, board members can have names. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible
Mr.
to me.
Attorney, can you please
It's just
step
incredible
in
to me.
and,
I want to make sure I understand your question.
this is,
If you don't vote on that, you had a question about what that
Apparently,
means?
the sheriff wouldn't talk to us because Nikki Cummings was there. And they already knew that there was might be an indictment. Has she been indicted? I don't think so. She has been formally charged? Okay, so they knew that was going on, and now that's why they wouldn't talk to us, because Nikki was sitting there. So now there's no Nikki, so why can't we?
Can I say one thing about the number? Just when the task force option 6 actually talked about that there would be as many guardians as needed.
No, I got it right here. I got it from Rhonda, a copy of it. I got copies.
Kathy, you were on the losing end of the vote, and you're gonna keep
That
beating this
doesn't mean I
horse.
have to be quiet.
Well, it doesn't mean you can dominate the meeting. At some point, I wish the board
Okay, I'm
attorney would
done.
stop in and try to
I think
stop.
we can adjourn.
What I think I understood from the superintendent was that the superintendent is willing to share information with the board, one-on-one, the exact questions that you had raised before. And if there is an issue that presents itself later, where a board member has requested certain information but has been denied information, we can raise it at that point in time.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. All right.
I think that is what,
Yes, ma'am.
Board Member Jorgensen, you are okay with that. Am I misunderstanding the will of the board?
The will of the board, I think, you can take a roll call vote just for the fun of it, if you want
Kathy?
A vote on what?
to. He wants to know that you're okay with this.
That you are okay with that, that,
With not getting the names?
no, that you're okay with having the one-on-one meeting with the superintendent that was offered?
Does the superintendent have all the information that the sheriff has?
I would
Will my questions be able to be answered by the
Yes, ma'am. We
superintendent?
will both meet with you.
Oh, the sheriff also, or
Yes,
somebody
ma'am.
from his office? That'd be fine. I've gone through this, as you know, I've gone through this before, that I was gonna meet with you and the sheriff to get this information, and then was turned down, but I will try again.
The superintendent has agreed to.
Yeah, I'm reaching out to you, Ms. Jorgensen, if you'd like to meet with us.
I would very much like to meet
Okay, if
with you,
you'll call my
sir.
office, we'll be more than happy to sit down and talk to you, okay?
And would you like us to do it as we did in the past?
Yes, ma'am, just
Just
individually.
go through your secretary
Yes,
and
ma'am.
set it up?
Right,
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
okay, we're through with that, or were we through with that, David?
I think
I mean,
it's
you
up
could
to the
have this
majority of
if
the
we are.
board.
We're done with that.
We're done with that.
Would that
You-
be,
you keep-
just for the record?
Gosh.
I mean, really, go
I
ahead.
would have used it, but you've been selected to be the chairman. But go ahead. I
We
don't
have
know.
one more item, don't worry.
Could someone please summarize what we're doing
Oh,
with,
Jane.
M3?
Tell her the baby was crying and we put the thing
With
on.
what,
mute.
honey? I didn't hear you. What, Jane?
M3, what did y'all, what's been
We can
decided?
see the
tell-
superintendent.
Upon Charlie's advice, we're not voting on that.
Okay.
And she can make an appointment with the
And
superintendent.
if you want any
and the sheriff.
confidential information, except names, but you can find out positions and how many they are and how many they're planning, all the secret stuff. You make an appointment with the superintendent and the sheriff, and they will give you any information you request, except the names.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Discussion, input, and action on revised 2018-19 mental health assistance allocation plan per Senate Bill 7026.
With the
I'm good.
explanation they gave.
That was very nice today.
Yes, awesome. So we move, accept it.
Move forward, accept it, yeah. It's good.
Sandra made a motion, David seconded.
We don't need a vote, I don't think. We just move on, don't we?
Discussion, input, and action. Action means motion,
All right,
sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Carries 4-0. Reports by board members. I'm going to go first and not say a word. What do you think of that? I've said all I have to say for now. Ms. Gilliard.
I just want to make mention of the article that was in the Palatka Daily News with Mark Modell and the group that he allowed to come here and meet with us. I thought that was very well written, and that's kudos to our teachers putting it in their hands to help make decisions about the students that they know, and I just felt that was well done. To Nikki Hawthorne and to her group with the summer feeding, we do have it going on at various sites throughout the district, and it is a wonderful program, and children are being fed. I know because we feed them at my church. Mental health and the school safety presentation that was done in our workshop by Mr. Hedstrom and Mr. Weaver. Excellent job. I just appreciate that. That kind of takes a burden off our shoulders, or it sets our heart at ease to know that we have a plan going into the school year that would move us forward with our students. And I'm done.
Very good. Mr. Buckles.
I pass.
Mr. Board Attorney.
Yes, last legislative session was very busy for K through 12 matters, not just Senate Bill 7026. So we're waiting through the policies that are coming through Neola and some of the others. So I look forward to helping the board with the implementation of those policies. Also, with the implementation of the Guardian program, as you know, there's a lot of items and issues that must be worked through with the liability concerns and with our carriers. So we've been working with risk management on how to best address those, and as more information becomes available, I look forward to sharing that with the board. Thank you.
May I say something?
Yes, you may.
I have a short little report. I just wanted to give a shout out to Stephanie Wellen, who is our lead mental health counselor, I believe, and all of the work that she did on the mental health assistance allocation plan. It was very complete and inclusive, and a lot of work went into that. I would also like to say that I am doing well in Rochester, New York with my brand new grandson, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the first meeting in August.
Okay, thank you, Jane, and I'm sorry to have admitted you. Without you sitting here, I forget you're there.
It's okay.
I'm apologizing. Were you finished, Mr. Attorney? Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, I want to welcome Helen Muir back, and I know she was here along with Sam Carr about the activities for the second grade, so thank you for coming, and that's going to be an exciting time. Yeah. But,
It's a wonderful event, and hopefully all you will take a day in that last week of September and come see it, all the exciting things happening by the river.
very good. Thank you, Helen, for coming.
What did she say?
She said she'll see you next time.
Okay.
Just want to
She bought it.
remind the board, we do have a budget hearing scheduled for July 24th at 3 p.m., and that is to approve to advertise the budget. So if you put that on your calendar, if you haven't already,
I haven't.
July 24th at 3 p.m.
Okay.
It's a week from today.
Right.
Superintendent,
Yes, ma'am.
I remember what happened that time I missed a budget meeting. I don't want that to happen again, but I won't be back in town.
And I have a doctor appointment that I may or may not get back from in time.
So we need we're gonna need to.
We'd still have them, no, we wouldn't. We'd have a majority. No, we wouldn't.
Well, I can change my doctor appointment. I'll change the doctor appointment because I know the budget has to go when the budget has to go.
We can have
What time?
3, we need to make sure
3
we have
o'clock?
3 here.
Is it
3
3 o'clock?
p.m.
It'll
on.
be us, yeah.
Okay.
I can call in. I remember Terry Wright did that one time.
But you can't do it unless there's a quorum here already.
Gotta have actual 3.
There has to be 3 people here in order for you to call. Yeah, but I have a conflict that day, but I'm gonna resolve the conflict. We're good, Jane.
So you change your appointment. Okay.
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay. Do we have the dates for the other ones yet, Rhonda? Do you want?
I don't have them.
Well, we can get it to them later. Yeah, we can email that to them later. Just want to do another shout out for all of our schools and our school grades. I think they came out since our last board meeting, but we have had tremendous gains. And as you know, we had 11 schools on the state list for school improvement, and 7 of those schools have actually come off the list, which means they've made a C or higher. So congratulations to all our schools. Possibility that 8 schools will come off. So we're waiting on an appeal. So that's a tremendous improvement in our district. Hats off to all of our teachers, our administrators, and especially our students for their accomplishment. Our school district grade, we were 2 points away from a B, which is phenomenal. And we moved up 5 percentage points from last year. And as you know, our entire goal is to move to the upper half of all the 67 districts in the state. So currently, we started off 2 years ago at 64 to 62, and now we're at 58. So we're well on our way, and kudos to all our school improvement team and instructional team for all the work they've done. And, you know, it's because our principals and our teachers have gotten together, and we have some very specific strategic goals, and they are working hard to achieve those. So I'm very proud of our district, and I think our community is rallying around what we're doing. And I think once our graduation rates are officially released in the fall, you will be very happy about what you're going to see there. One of our schools, as you know, Mosley, did move up from from an F to a D. They improved 8 percentage points, which is a big jump. And but they will still be, as you well know, you approved the external operator contract at the last meeting. Tomorrow, Jonathan Hinkie, myself, and Laura France will be in Orlando, leaving here after the meeting. And again, we'll have to address the State Board of Education and submit our plan along with LSI on what that's going to look like. So I'll keep you briefed on that. We are one of 9 districts that will be presenting, and we're the 9th district, so it's going to be a long morning.
Oh, boy.
And finally, I'm happy to say that our leadership team actually got together on a little retreat last week, and just got away from everybody and met and looked at our past accomplishments over this last year and set some goals for the upcoming year. And again, I think we have a good plan going forward, and we'll share that in future meetings, let you know what some of our short-term goals are. So thank you, and that's all I have today.
There being no further business, I adjourn this meeting.